he can. Can you hear me, Adam? We can't hear you. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yes, I can hear. Can you hear me?
What? Bueller?
I guess so.
All right, so let's get this meeting started. So, good evening. It is 7 o'clock, and this open meeting of the Acton Finance Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with the Governor Baker's Executive Order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth and the local state of emergency declared by the Acton Board of Selectmen and Board of Health due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the Board of Selectmen has suspended all public gatherings. In accordance with the Governor's orders, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The Governor's orders allow public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along the deliberations of this committee. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless that participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment this evening. For this meeting, the Acton Finance Committee is convening by Zoom media on the Zoom app and posted on our meeting agenda, town's website, calendar, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded and some attendees are participating via video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that folks may be able to see you. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All meeting materials were posted on our agenda this evening. We now turn to the first agenda item. Before we do that, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business this evening and ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, Roland Gordon, the chair, will introduce each speaker in the agenda if applicable. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to unmute your computer or phone when speaking. Please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name. If members wish to engage in a colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care of agenda by yourself. And with that, we are going to move to our first agenda item this evening, which is the warrant articles. And we did have some warrant articles that were assigned to forgetting his name now. Al
and Tom.
Jack, and is unable to be with us. So I'm going to share my screen. And
Roland, you had mentioned that you were going to send out a new list of assigned warrant articles or warrant article assignments. Did you get that? Did you do that and I just can't find that email?
I believe I did.
I will take another look for it.
I have it right here, and I'll be happy to send it back out to the committee after the meeting tonight.
Christine, it was on June 7th.
Thanks.
Maybe you may have still been drugged up.
It's quite likely.
Okay, so let's run down this. I'm not seeing anybody. I will go back and forth so I can kind of see who's doing what here. I'm just going to shrink this to the side so I can see everybody in the meeting.
Roland, that's the old list.
Yeah.
That's not for the current draft warrant. That's pre.
Right. So we need to modify this tonight. So.
Gotcha.
Then once we do that, we'll be good. So just give me 1 second while I get to the correct page where this is on. Town operating budgets, Article 2. That'd be myself. Article 3, Kelly's Corner. I believe it's still you, Christy.
Yep.
Article number 4. I have Town Capital Sidewalks Program. I have Mr. Nolde. Adam. You be prepared. Town Capital Infrastructure and Studies Improvement. I have Jason.
Sorry, bad timing. What was the question, Roland?
You're assigned to the town capital sidewalk program, article number 4.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody might want to keep themselves off mute so that they can answer as we go down. Article 5, Jason, town capital infrastructure and studies improvements.
Yes.
Article 6, school district assessment, Christine.
Yep, I'm on it.
7 is Minuteman, Mike.
Yeah.
Article 8, community preservation. Who wants to take that? I mean, I can easily take that one. That's not a problem.
It's all you. That's what you get for having been on the CPC.
I've chaired it for 2 years and vice chaired it for 2 years. That's what happens. Is that on consent, I hope?
No.
It's not on the consent item. It's not on the consent calendar, but I believe we will run through it as we normally do with the with the individual line items being part of a mini consent decree. I could be wrong about that.
Number 9, fund collective bargaining agreement, Sahana.
Did not have that, but I can take it. It's no recommendation from both, right? From the board as well as the finance committee.
I think that was Steve Nunes.
That was Steve.
Yeah,
Newell.
that's what I thought.
Okay.
The articles have different numbers.
Okay, that's what might be throwing me off. Sorry.
Yeah, that should be this.
That's what we're in. Real property disposal, 3 schools. Steve, was that Dave Wellinghoff?
I think so.
Okay, you'll stay with that. Now we come up with some L articles. Article number 11.
So I did some research on that one actually, but I was not able to present to the committee because of a work conflict. If you will refresh my memory as to how we voted, because I was not there, I will speak to it if need be. I believe we voted to recommend this, but I would want someone to verify that.
No, I think we had no recommendation.
Yeah, we had no recommendation.
Yeah, the book says no recommendation.
Okay.
Didn't we discuss that at the last meeting and I dropped off just in time?
Yes.
Yes, and we decided no recommendation.
Okay, then I will leave it be then.
Men's zoning map 525 Main Street.
I think that's me.
It's you, okay. Thanks, Mike. Article 13.
That's also Steve Noon.
Yep, I have that, okay. 14. Budget transfers. I believe we voted to defer on that one. Sometimes which was referred not to be needed this year, I would imagine. It's also on consent. 15, rescind borrowing authorization. That was Steve Noon. That sound correct?
It sounds like
Okay.
that sort of thing.
16, firefighters relief fund. I had Steve.
Yeah.
That's what Steve gets for not showing up to tonight's meeting.
Well, Steve had a board meeting that he had to attend, so he informed me ahead of time. If there's any extra ones that we need him to do, he'll take. Communal lot and station maintenance. Mr. Wellinghoff, still you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Septic disposal enterprise budget. I believe that's me. I have. I don't think it has anything different. Transfer station recycling, Christie.
Yes.
Sewer enterprise budget, Christine Russell.
Yep.
Woohoo! Moving right along. 21, ambulance enterprise budget, Mr. Noldy. Hearing silence, I'll take that as a yes. That was, yeah. Transportation enterprise budget. I have Sahana.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. revolving funds budget. Jason?
Sure.
Hear and accept reports. We have nobody on that.
You can put my name down,
I'll take it. Here's a wish.
or whoever.
And that's not going to be a question anyway. 25, authorize easements. I have Mike Majors on that.
I guess.
26, highway reimbursement program, chapter 98. Jason?
Really? Okay. I don't remember doing any research into this one, but okay.
Yeah, I think these numbers are all different, that's why.
Yeah, do you know who we assigned to that then?
We probably gave a bunch of these are the last 9 articles or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the folio going to be the same every year. We're going to take money type stuff. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see who got it. But really, any of us can do this one.
That's fine. I got it.
Yeah, this was the list Al had.
27. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is where we gave him 36 to 43.
Yeah. 28, we have Sahana, gifts or grants.
Yeah, that's
These
fine.
are all just boilerplate. Federal and state reimbursement, Christine.
Sure.
Steve Noon on performance bonds. Mike on sale of foreclosed properties.
And that's it.
That's it. Okay, so we get rid of these. I will send this out to the committee this evening.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Wellinghoff.
just a quick question. You know, the 3 School Street, I don't have my notes in front of me, and I've been looking for them. I remember the discussion was a little contentious, and we recommended it. And I was thinking of your email about you know, when we discuss these, when we mention these, our votes at the meeting. In the off chance that there is some requests from town members of what the finance committee's concerns were against this, would it be possible just to reiterate those from my own notes?
Sure. But I would also say that we have a canned statement that we plan
Yes.
on giving.
Understood.
But since I was the main one who objected, and I believe I was in the minority of one on that one, my objection to it is that it was a blank check to the Board of Selectmen to dispose of the property without coming back with a finalized plan. So we've been asked to sign off on something without knowing any of the actual details and without having anything approaching a final dollar amount.
Well, we do have a dollar amount that was, well, actually there was, it's my understanding, well, maybe John can address this. 3 School Street,
Which John? John Benson? John Major?
John Benson.
And John, just correct me. I think an offer came in from an adjoining property owner for $67,000 or $70,000, and we said that just wasn't enough.
Right. So the language of this article is to give the Board of Selectmen carte blanche. Am I misreading the spirit of this article?
No, that's correct.
Okay, and that's what I object to.
But the EDC has, I know it's not finance, but EDC had a concern that we have no problem with the Board of Selectmen having the right to dispose of this property. But I guess we were trying to encourage the town to look at that property and promote commercial redevelopment of South Acton versus giving it to a lower, the low bidder who would create housing, which we don't want. Not that we don't need housing or anything's wrong with housing, but we didn't think it was an appropriate use of that property. And our suggestion to the town was to hold on to it for a while.
Okay, so to be clear, if I could just summarize Jason's opinion is, Jason, a finance committee member or members was interested in seeing a more finalized plan of what the Board of Selectmen's plan was to do with the property. And the EDC was ideally looking to have commercial development done with the property. I'm just looking for a few talking points, nothing major.
Sounds good to me. You captured the spirit of my argument. Thank you.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Okay, so give me 1 second. So one of has happened in the past when we give a recommendation, even if we were not in 100% agreement on the committee, even though we're recommending the article for adoption at town meeting, and somebody questions us, the past has been that, and we saw in the fall, December, that we don't comment on those.
Yep. So, Roland, do you want me to read what I?
Yeah, when you read it, let's have the committee take a.
So this obviously is, we can make of this as we want, but I just wanted to put something down in case we have the same situation occur this time. What I wrote is, when speaking on behalf of the Finance Committee, each member speaks to the final majority vote of the committee. While there is nothing that precludes a member from stepping to a public microphone to share a personal opinion, and that has indeed happened, even in recent memory, the committee will not re-debate what was covered in previous public meetings during town meeting.
Yeah, no re-debate, I guess, but in the past, to Roland's point, town members have asked why someone would not have voted for an article, and
so saying the dissenting views, I think, is a great idea, and I'm glad that you have that. But the purpose of this little snippet statement was in the instance that a town member said that he wanted to know exactly who voted for it and wanted that person to comment on it, and we didn't want to go down that path again.
Christy?
I'm not saying this is the situation here, but I have some strong concerns about voicing dissenting views. They can sometimes be so far off target, they could be held just by one person on the committee who is out completely on their own. And if it is spoken to at the meeting, you can give it seemingly equal weight as to the committee's view, and what we're supposed to be presenting is the actual committee's view. I can understand presenting more of a pro and con when it's a fair, closer split between the two, but I am, in spite of having been the lone voice against some things we voted for, I'm disinclined for us to start taking up presenting the position against what the final committee vote was.
Just to be very clear, in case I'm asked, I'm not planning on. I'm simply going to say the Finance Committee recommended supporting this article, et cetera, et cetera. And if pushed, which we have been in the past, I'll say the vote was not unanimous. And though if pushed, there were concerns about the ultimate finalized plan, which we were not aware of at this time, or something to that effect. But just a generalized answer.
Yeah, make sure we don't go down a rabbit hole. So
Too late.
Yeah, I think we're saying that selectmen, this article basically gives the selectmen the right to dispose of the property, which we agree with. But obviously our concern is what happens to it after it's disposed of, and where we have lost control of that property.
correct. Okay. Also, for anybody who's late to our meeting, I want to congratulate Mr. Majors for being recommended by being given the award of volunteer award from the Board of Selectmen this year. Great work, Mike. He was very instrumental with the Minuteman, and great insight to our committee, and helped us give an informed decision. And it's a great thing that we have that we are a member of.
It's the the award has been given 3 years. We're actually changing the name. We're going to call it. It's the Francis Faulkner Award for Town Service. We cut out the word volunteer. I thought that was.
Is Is that the name of the award right now?
diminishes it. But this is the third year in a row that a finance committee member has been honored. Bob Evans, Steve Noon, and Mike Majors.
Yeah, had I known it was coming, I would have worn pants.
Dean never told you?
How long have you been on the finance committee, Mike?
I forget. It's probably
Before the war.
yeah. I think when they were wearing blue and gray uniforms, or not as long as Steve.
Steve Noon or Steve Barrett?
He's
Steve
not
Noon.
here to talk back.
Although I am older than Steve. I think, yeah.
I think, who's the longest serving? Is that Bob Evans?
It was probably Bob, and Steve is right up there.
He's been there a long time. It's great knowledge to have.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Mike. That's great.
Thank you. It was a surprise, and I am humbled by it.
So now we need to speak about logistics and how's that going? Mr. Mangiarotti.
Hi.
Good evening.
I noticed you're discussing warrant articles. I wanted to know whether you'd be interested in an update on Article 9.
Well, that's what we're here for. Yes, we are.
Great. So I have some great news to report with regards to collective bargaining. We had kept that Article 9 on the warrant as a placeholder just in case. And for most of the year, it looked like it was not going to be needed, but we were able to reach agreement over the weekend. And we do have a contract that we can bring to town meeting for, and for collective bargaining, the town meeting has to approve the first year contract, and then the remaining is bound to fund the remaining two. In this case, the fire union was the remaining contract that hadn't been settled. All other contracts are settled from the period of July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2021, which is the fiscal years 20, 21, and 22. So now that we've reached an agreement with the firefighters, if we can get this approved at town meeting, then we will be all set with all the unions, and they'll all be lined up on the same schedule, which has advantages for us as management as we work on the contracts next go around. So the amount of money that we would be bringing to the warrant or to the motions is $57,500. That would be to fund the difference for the first year of the contract. Some of the key terms, negotiations were long, and we were headed to arbitration, which is, for those of you unfamiliar with it, police and fire contracts are allowed to have a separate party that you can go to if you don't reach an agreement. If you reach an impasse with Public Works or other folks, you have to settle it. But if it's police and fire, you can go to the Joint Labor Management Committee, which is an organization set up at the state, and their job is to help solve disputes between labor and management. And in this case, we went through that whole process, and we weren't able to reach an agreement, and we were headed to arbitration actually next month, which would have been a very costly and time-consuming thing for us to do. So I'm very pleased that we were able to reach an agreement, and Selectman Berry will be presenting at town meeting if there are any questions. And I have here tonight if there are any questions. The Finance Committee, I don't know if you can consider it tonight or if you need to do it in your pre-town meeting, but I wanted to make sure that you had this information as soon as we had it.
Go ahead, Jason.
Mr. Mangiarotti, you said it was 57,500. What are the step increases? Did you mention them?
I did not. The step increases are 1.85
for all 3 years.
In between the steps, yeah.
So, and is there a separate COLA as well?
Yeah, so the COLA is 222, which is consistent with all the other bargaining units that we have settled. All the contracts are 222 over the 3 years, and this one is a 222. We made some other adjustments to the wage scale to try to address some concerns we had with employee retention, in particular promoting officers. We wanted to create incentive for people to become officers and get promoted within the department. And a big part of negotiation is actually a big part that was hard to get to a resolution on was the promotional policy. And I'm very pleased with the policy that we were able to incorporate. So it includes a 222 consistent with other contracts.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee members? Thanks, John. It's good news.
Why don't we vote on it?
Well, can we within our
Yes, we can.
warrant card? So yeah, why don't we vote on it? Who wants to make a motion?
Motion to recommend, what's the article number?
9.
Recommend Article 9 Fund Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Second.
All right, to do a roll call vote. So we'll start, Mr. Nolde. I need to actually hear you. Can't hear you. You on mute? He said I could see him mouthing it, but I didn't hear him.
He has laryngitis.
Jason. Aye. Christine. Russell. You're on mute.
I am. This mute thing's not working out well. Aye.
Excellent. Sahana Brewitt. Oh wait.
Go ahead.
Brewitt. Thank you.
Aye.
David Wellinghoff.
Aye.
Michael Majors.
Aye.
Christy Anderson.
Aye.
And myself, I am an aye. Good work, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to logistics. Christy and I attended the moderators meeting last week. There are going to be 2 seating arrangements, one inside and one outside. John Benson, I'm going to ask you stuff, logistic wise, and maybe you can help us out, Mr. John.
You're all welcome to sit either inside or outside, some in, some out. The question that John and I had is the circumstance where there's an amendment offered to an article and a recommendation is requested from the Finance Committee. How would you people plan to huddle and make a decision with some inside and some outside? The only thing we thought of, if there was Roland had a phone inside, Christine had a phone outside, and you polled your members and you communicated that way. But we're open to anything you've come in on, but we wanted something pinned down.
Okay, I want to hear from committee members. So I'll go around. Christy?
I suspect if I don't say it, Christine will. It's kind of hard for us to socially distance and huddle up to talk about something when we're there. Regardless, I'm not comfortable sitting inside, so I will be outside in whatever form I need to be.
Yeah, do you feel the whole committee should be outside?
I think it's good for us to all be together. That said,
Okay.
It's looking like there's a good chance it'll rain.
We get wet. Okay.
That's my plan.
Mike Majors?
Any ideas about communicating or being inside or outside?
Well, it's both. I mean, it's harder for us to communicate if we're not all together, as we know. So the question is, and I have no problem with it myself, of having us all sit outside. But I don't want to speak for other committee members and how they feel.
Well, I'm not particularly interested in sitting outside in unpredictable weather. If it's weather like today, no thank you. I was wondering if it's possible to have like a mini Zoom session if we had to debate something or discuss something using our cell phones as a platform.
suspect we probably can.
I don't.
Mr. Mangiarotti, can we Zoom?
We're setting up several different things for the town meeting. That is not one thing that we've started and sorted out how to figure out how to set up. I think that even if the board of selectmen has to deliberate, I think they're going to have to maintain social distancing inside. I believe they'll be inside. And if the finance committee wants to deliberate, they'll have to maintain social distancing either in one group or, if necessary, in two groups. And as I said, you could try to set up a Zoom. That might be complicated. I don't know about the Wi-Fi over there. A phone call might be better. If two people in each group or one person in each group has a cell phone that they can put on speaker, it's not ideal, and there's probably going to be background noise. And hopefully the deliberation is short. But I think that's the only available method, unless all the members decide to go in one place for that deliberation, then return back to where they were before deliberation.
Jason?
I have a corporate WebEx, so if everyone has their phones, we could get on a WebEx instantaneously, and we can be as far apart as we need to be while still all being on the same meeting at the same time. So if that's an acceptable solution, I'm more than happy to offer up the WebEx for however long we need during that time. I, for one, will probably be sitting outside, and I think that I'm expecting very few amendments. I'm expecting very unlikely that this is going to be a long, drawn-out meeting. But in the unlikely event that there is an amendment or something that we need to comment on immediately, I'm more than happy to turn on the WebEx.
I can go with that. Mr. Wellinghoff?
Just to be clear, we need to be on the high school property to participate in the WebEx? I don't know what the rules are.
To vote in town meeting, you've got to be on property. To be in the WebEx, no.
No. I'm personally flexible. I think I prefer just to be outside. I do have one of those canopies that if it does look like the weather's not going to cooperate, we could certainly set that up. But yeah, and I have Zoom, and I think I have WebEx as well as whatever. So I'm fine. I'm flexible.
Uh-huh.
I'm okay to sit inside as well as outside. So I have no preference at this point. If the weather is good, if it's looking nice outside, I might sit outside. But if it is going to rain, probably I might be inside. I'm open to both.
Adam? Go O for outside or this for inside. Okay, so Adam's outside. I kind of agree with Sahana. If it's going to rain, I'd prefer to be inside so I don't get wet. But if it's going to be something like this, I'm planning on sitting outside. We just have to have our designated area for finance. As we could be all over.
Technical question.
Yes.
If we sit outside, do we still have to wear a tie?
You don't have to.
So actually, sorry, Mr. Majors, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I said, Jason, you can still wear your bow tie.
Yep, I intend to.
If you want.
I intend to. If it is possible, to Dave's point, if there is a section for the finance committee, please let us know. We can put up a tent.
And then would it just make sense to just have all of us sit near each other underneath the tent or something in just a corner of the parking lot? I mean, I don't want to get cute about it, but
they currently have an area set up for us that they showed us at the ALG meeting. In the map, there's an area they have set aside if the finance committee decides to be outside.
Fantastic.
But there's no tent.
So.
Yeah, there can be. If you tell me where it is, I can bring a 30-foot tent.
Yeah, I have a canopy too. I mean, I think we'd be more than.
Yeah,
even distance, I think we'd be good.
Okay. So we have
Tent and a cooler sounds good.
Well, we still can't do that. Unfortunately, it's still school property.
Lost what last say. So does anybody feel that we need to have a meeting before town meeting? I don't think we do. Mike? David?
I think we're good.
Sahana? You good?
Sorry, I just got distracted. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, we want to know if we should give me $1 million raise. No.
I can't do that.
Okay. The question is, do you feel that we need to have another meeting before town meeting like we've done in the past?
I don't think so.
Christine?
Yeah, I can't think what would be on that agenda. We do need to, I think we need to open a FinCom meeting though, don't we? And then adjourn it after town meeting, or is that not required?
I believe that's not required. Mr. Mangiarati?
Is it just always gone that way? Because we typically open our meeting and we don't adjourn it until town meeting's over. And I assume
You could do it at the town meeting. You could do it.
that's what I'm saying. We just need to remember, I think, to do that.
So I think we should be prepared for a placeholder. I think you should take the 3 days in advance, make sure to post it 3 days in advance, a half an hour before the meeting, for no other reason of God forbid something happens between now and Monday. I realize it's Wednesday, but if God forbid something happens between now and Monday and we have to meet and powwow early, I think having it set for 5:30 is a fine thing. And if we don't get quorum because there's no reason to do it, and if we don't get quorum until 5:55 and we open it up before the 6 o'clock meeting, I think that's fine. But I think you would be wise to have a placeholder just in case.
Does everybody else feel?
Jason,
Huh?
always thinking.
Does everybody else feel that's a good idea? Dave?
No, I agree with that. Sorry, I just want to ask: does anybody feel strongly about us about being inside? And if that's the case, I mean, should we think about all of us just being together outside?
I believe Mr. Major said he wanted to be inside.
Okay.
Well, I said my preference would be, but hey, I've spent time in harsher environments.
Yeah, just bring your bug spray. We'll be good. And so, if that's the case, then we could all sit together outside in our designated area with some protection from the elements, and that way we don't have to worry about any technology issues or whatever else.
Okay.
That's fine.
Great.
All right, so I'll have that posted tonight at 5:30 on Monday. It's my month close starting Monday, so good that day. Hopefully it'll go quickly. Mr. Barrett, I believe that you had a finance department update for us this evening.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do. First, we'd like to congratulate Mike Majors for his service award to the town of Acton. Furthermore, Mike, thank you very much for your service to the country. Very much. So earlier today or this evening, I'm trying to catch up a little bit, I sent an email out to the Finance Committee. Basically, I wanted to share a couple of things with you. Let me just pull those up. The first item, and I forgot to give you some information that was probably the most important. The Department of Revenue has cleared the decks for a 1/12 spending package for FY21. I've given you some details on why the number was so high. At the end of the day, we hope we don't need it. This is just in place in case there's some sort of problem with town meeting on Monday night. And just to let you know what kind of crisis conditions that John is operating under, John Mangiarati, earlier in probably mid-May, late May, we were told we weren't allowed to put in for the 1/12 budget because we had a town meeting scheduled. The state kind of looked at it later and they understood our need to have belts and suspenders. So, you know, we hope we don't need it, but we do have a budget in place in case there's some sort of problem on Monday night. I don't know if there's any questions on there. again, what you see in the authorization is our standard 3 million a month outlay for municipal funds. We also have, usually in July, we try to pay our pension assessment and our insurance, our Maya assessment or bill, and take a 2% discount. So that's why we usually pay those in July. I usually like to pay OPEB in July or early August, just so we can get a full year of monies in during the fiscal year. So that's why that 1/12 budget may have seemed a little high. But so again, that would just be belts and suspenders. A little bit later in the day, I sent the Finance Committee a copy of it's interesting. It's a deficit spending letter from the state for $750,000. Basically, as the committee knows, what we've reported out, we're participating in a FEMA disaster assistance grant. We're also participating in a CARES Act grant. At the end of the day, the state accounting rules say that if we have grant deficits that aren't satisfied by September 30th, they will hit our reserves for those deficits. This letter merely is the state telling us that they're not going to hit us for those deficits. At the end of the day, when those funds come in, they will cover the deficits that exist. But what we're seeing on the ground, quite frankly, is the FEMA money that could be months and months. So, we were encouraged by the state to also look at this in terms of reimbursement. And again, if we didn't put this request in, the state's accounting rules would basically require our reserves to take a hit for the current $300,000 or $400,000 of expenses that we have reclassified to either the FEMA assistance grant, that kind of thing. So I also did move the number up a little bit, just to give us a little bit of wiggle room. It looks right now, and I talked to John a little bit earlier today, we're at a 99% real estate tax collection rate, and that's awesome. On local receipts, we have a small little revenue problem of approximately $200,000. I believe that could be covered in this deficit as well. So the idea here, from my view, is that whatever we do, we try to minimize the impact on our reserves. The citizens have done a great job lining us up at 6/30/2020 to have a strong position moving forward. But again, just to kind of recap, the 1/12 budget is administrative in nature and is needed only in the case of a real problem next Monday night. And the $750,000 spending deficit letter, to me, just means that our reserves will not be harmed by the feds taking months to pay us. But that's about, I'm trying to think, that's about all we have to report out. But our expense turn back is still around where we had predicted. There's a lot going on right now, but we have no major issues with enterprise funds or the revolving funds. Brian McMullen chairs a Wednesday 3:00 meeting, and Brian pushed everybody through the paces today. General fund, revolving, enterprise funds. So we see no weakness in our reserve levels moving forward. The enterprise funds are consistent. They're strongly backed. So we go into town meeting feeling pretty good Monday night, and thank you very much for your support.
Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. I have a couple of questions just because I don't quite understand. Did we need this authorization letter because we spent more than what was appropriated during our last town meeting?
No, not at all. It's if you're talking about the $750,000,
Yes.
It's just a function of the state's accounting rules. The state's accounting rules say that if you have a deficit at June 30th, that's fine and that's okay. But if you don't cover that by September 30th, we're going to lower your free cash number. And right now, we're not expecting FEMA reimbursement till after September 30th. So
I get
that's
that.
why we asked for that.
I get that. I understand that. But my understanding, and my memory could be faulty, my understanding is that during our last meeting, you said we were on the path for $1 million turnback. So my question is, if we had $1 million that we were planning on being able to turn back, and this expenditure is less than that $1 million, why did we need a waiver in any way, shape, or form if we're dealing with a bottom line budget? I guess I don't understand the order of operations here.
Yeah, and I'm. Oh,
So
John, you want to take a shot?
Yeah, so the turnback isn't impacted by, the main thing here is due to COVID-19 expenses, rather than pulling money from our FY20 budget to pay for those, we've set those aside in a grant account. And that grant account is supposed to have money in it to pay those expenses. It's not likely that we'll get the money until after September 30th to pay those expenses. So rather than having to diminish our reserves to fill that gap, we have permission from the state to basically wait till FEMA gives us the money, and it won't harm us in terms of our revenue and our reserve picture. So it has nothing to do with our operating budget and what we're going to turn back. It's just simply an accounting mechanism to allow us to wait for them to give us the reimbursement and not have it count against us while we're waiting.
Any other questions from the committee? Thank you, John. And Steve? Is there any other finance committee business this evening? All right, so we stand adjourned for this evening. Well, we don't stand adjourned, we haven't had a motion yet from Mr. Nolby, because he can't talk tonight, so that's good. And to go through a roll call vote anyway. So we'll meet, post the agenda, Dave?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, so I'll post a meeting agenda for next week. Okay, Christy?
Aye.
Mike Majors?
Aye.
Christine Russell?
Aye.
Sahana?
Aye.
David?
I'm an aye, but I did want to ask, are we good with logistics then for the town meeting? We can discuss after this vote.
Once we're adjourned, we can't.
No, we can't. Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm a nay for the next 30 seconds. Should we bring like tent like stuff if it looks like it might rain? Are we planning on all sitting outside? Is that the thought right now?
Dave, call me. You and I will figure out the larger canvas tent thing.
I just want to confirm we're all going to be outside.
Yes, we are.
Please call me if you're going to set up a big tent in the parking lot, because we're doing a lot of work to set everything up. We want to make sure that whatever you're planning isn't going to be impacted or would impact what we're trying to do. But we think it's great, but we just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Jason,
Turn up.
Leave that in your hands.
Turn up.
So Dave, what's your vote now?
I'm an aye for the vote. Thank you.
Jason?
Aye.
Adam? Is that like an aye? Okay, whatever. Right, so we're adjourned. I will post the meeting. I'll post the agenda. I'll send it out in a moment. And I'll see you all on Monday at 5:30. God willing. Mr. Barrett, see you at town meeting.
Sure.
Brian, you gonna be at town meeting as well? We'll see everybody there. All right, have a great evening, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Bye.